4 ഫേസുകളിലായിട്ട് നടത്തപ്പെട്ട ഇന്ത്യ UGC നെറ്റ് ഡിസംബർ 2021 ജൂൺ 2022 മോർണിംഗ് സൈക്കിളിലെ ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് ഷിഫ്റ്റുകളിൽ പേപ്പർ 1 ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ചോദ്യങ്ങളും അതിൻ്റെ ഫൈനൽ ആൻസർ കീയിൽ മെൻഷൻ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഉത്തരങ്ങളും ഇതിൻ്റെ ഒരു അനാലിസിസ് ആണ് നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് പോകുന്നത്. സോ ഈ സെഷനിൽ ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ വീഡിയോയിൽ നമ്മൾ എക്കണോമിക് ഷിഫ്റ്റിൽ ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള പേപ്പർ 1 50 ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ, അതിനകത്ത് ഏതൊക്കെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആണ് ഡ്രോപ്പ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്, ബാക്കിയുള്ള ചോദ്യങ്ങളുടെ റൈറ്റ് ആൻസേഴ്സ് എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ഫൈനൽ ആൻസർ കീ പ്രകാരം, ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ ഏതൊക്കെ ഏരിയാസ് ആണ് ഈ ഷിഫ്റ്റിൽ കോൺസെൻട്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇത്തരത്തിലൊരു അനാലിസിസ് ആണ് നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുക. ഡീറ്റെയിൽഡ് ആയിട്ട് ഓരോ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ്റെയും ഒരു ഡീറ്റെയിൽഡ് അനാലിസിസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിൻ്റെ എക്സ്പ്ലനേഷൻ അല്ല നമ്മൾ ഇതിനകത്ത് ഫോക്കസ് ചെയ്യുക, മറിച്ച് ഓരോ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനും എടുത്തിട്ട് അത് ഏത് മൊഡ്യൂളാണ്, ഏത് ഏരിയയിൽ നിന്നാണ്. അത് മാത്രമല്ല ഈ ഒരു എക്സാമിൻ്റെ എക്കണോമിക്സ് എന്നുള്ള ഷിഫ്റ്റിൽ ചോദിച്ച പേപ്പർ 1 ചോദ്യങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു ഡിഫിക്കൽറ്റി ലെവൽ എന്തായിരുന്നു, അതോടൊപ്പം തന്നെ നിങ്ങൾ ഇനി അടുത്ത എക്സാമിന് വേണ്ടി പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഫോക്കസ് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കുന്ന ചില പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഏരിയാസ് ഏതൊക്കെയാണ്, ഇത്തരത്തിലൊക്കെയുള്ള ഒരു അനാലിസിസ് ആണ് ഈ സെഷനിൽ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് പോകുന്നത്. സോ നമുക്ക് ആ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനിലേക്ക് പോകാം. So if you're considering the questions that were asked from paper 1 in economic shift, you can say that the questions were not that tough. The shift was not that tough in respect of paper 1. And there were a lot of questions that came very directly from what we have learned so far. And considering the 50 questions, if you have already analyzed the final answer key, 2 of the questions were dropped. One of the question was from people, development and environment. And that was an assertion reason question, and the assertion says large scale dams also cause the greenhouse gas emissions, and the reason says when submerged vegetation decays, it produces carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. So this question was dropped. And also another question from logical reasoning was again dropped. So basically 2 questions were dropped from the 50 questions that were asked from paper 1 in economic shift. So which was the second question? Which of the following forms of categorical prepositions is valid? And they have given us 4 different prepositions, and we need to find out the right combination of answers that are given as options as well. So we all know that this validity or valid or invalid is basically a concept that we associate with arguments, whereas prepositions can be associated with truth and falsity, right? So in that respect, again, this question is having an error in it, and they have dropped that question as well. So 2 questions were dropped, and now we are moving to the questions and the right answers that were given in the final answer key for the paper 1 questions asked in economic shift. So here is your next question. Which of the following is a teacher-centered method? And we have the options problem solving, discussion method, inquiry approach, and then we have demonstration method. So considering this question, you can easily understand that this question came from the module teaching aptitude. And this methods of teaching is a very important topic that you have to consider in teaching aptitude. So if you consider the methods of teaching, we can primarily distinguish or differentiate the various methods of teaching into different groups, basically 2 groups, the teacher-centered methods and the learner-centered methods. So considering this question, they have asked us to find out the teacher-centered method from the given options, and the options are problem solving, discussion method, inquiry approach, and also demonstration method. So if you know about these different methods, you can easily answer the question, that is demonstration method. Demonstration method is the most appropriate answer that you can find from these options, which can be considered as a teacher-centered teaching method, and the other 3 options are basically learner-centered, or it focuses or it emphasizes the role of the learner in the entire process of teaching learning. Moving to the next question, what does a simple CC signify? They have given us a simple, and we have to identify what this simple is all about. So considering this question, this came from ICT, the module ICT, and this might be a difficult question. We might be not that much aware about these kinds of simples and all that, and if you know it, it's a very easy question, but most of the students, most of the NET aspirants, they might be found it really difficult to answer this question. And the right answer for this question is basically Creative Commons. Okay, Creative Commons, option C is the right answer for this question. The symbol that is given there in the question signify Creative Commons. This is basically an idea which is associated with copyright. Okay, so we are not going into the details of each and every ideas or concepts that we are seeing in these questions in this session. We're just looking at the question. It's just an analysis. We are just focusing on the questions and the right options That's it. So these concepts, some of these concepts we have already discussed in our previous sessions, and the upcoming classes also will be taking ideas from these questions that were asked in the very recent exam and will be explaining. In this session, we'll be just looking at, we're just analyzing the questions and also the right answers that are given in the final answer key. Moving to the next question. Given below are two statements. So it's a statement based question if you consider the exam that has happened very recently, and also if you consider the general trend of the exams that are conducted by NTA, we can see that they are focusing more on statement wise questions as well as assertion based questions. So as you all know, this is not an easy task considering statement wise and assertion based questions and comparing it with those kinds of MCQ questions. This kinds of questions requires a little more awareness about the concept or a little more clarity about the concept. You know that because we have two statements given there and we have to identify whether these two statements are true or false. Even though if you know one of the statements and if you don't know the second statement that is given in the question, this entire task will be really difficult for you, right? So statement questions and assertion based questions requires little more clarity about the concept. So when you're studying for NTA UGC NET, make sure that you are having a very good clarity about the concepts that you're focusing. Coming back to the question that is given here. So this question is from the module Research Aptitude. Okay. And the statement goes like this. Triangulation is described as that of researchers taking different perspectives in answering research questions. And statement 2 says, triangulation is expected to produce knowledge from different insights to promote quality research. So triangulation is a very important idea that we have to consider under the module Research Aptitude, and especially you need to focus on this area when you're considering the various approaches to research. So when you're considering qualitative and quantitative research approaches, triangulation is one of the most important approach that you have to consider under qualitative research. Okay. So we have discussed about the triangulation in our classes that are uploaded in LMS. And if you are a student who are trying to or who is actually preparing for a next attempt of NTA UGC NET, make sure that when you are preparing this research aptitude module, make sure that you are focusing on this idea that is triangulation. There are so many ideas like this: triangulation, mixed research approach, then we have grounded theory. All these approaches are really important. So make sure that you are focusing on this idea as well. So statement 1 says triangulation is described as that of researchers taking different perspective in answering research questions. That is true. So triangulation is basically focusing on a particular research question from different perspectives. And statement 2 says triangulation is expected to produce knowledge from different insights to promote quality research. Again, that's true. It is actually producing knowledge that is from different perspectives or different insights, and it focuses on promoting the quality of research. That is again true. In that respect, we can say that both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct. Moving to the next question. So this is from Mathematical Reasoning and Aptitude. The moment in itself when you're seeing this question, you can find it right. This is from Mathematical Reasoning and Aptitude. The average weight of 30 persons is increased by 2 kg when one of them whose weight is 40 kg is replaced by a new person. What is the weight of the new person? And we have various options given here as well: 98 kg, 100 kg, 102 kg and 95 kg. We are not going to the calculation part of this question right here in this session. As I have already mentioned before, we are just focusing on the questions that were asked in this particular shift, and we're just doing an analysis about the right answers that are or the right answers of the question. Just the question and the answers, not a very detailed study session on the questions that were asked. I have already mentioned it. Anyway, the right answer for this question is 100 kg. The calculation part and more videos in Mathematical Reasoning and Aptitude will be introduced to you later. And moving to the next question, identify the correct sequence of the following elements in the mass communication process. So which is the module? Obviously communication, right? So this mass communication is a very important type of communication that we consider under communication, and you have various options here: selective exposure, selective attention, cognitive dissonance, congruent information, confirmation of bias. So considering the module communication, a large number of students find it really difficult to find out the real meaning of the words that are using, especially the vocabulary that are associated, or the vocabulary that is associated with communication is something a large number of students find really difficult. So what you can do is just focus, just practice on the questions, previous year questions, that in itself give you an idea about the various kinds or the various terms or words that are associated with this entire realm of communication. That in itself give you a very good idea, because if you consider the questions that were coming from communication as a module, they're exploring a lot of general kind of questions. Like this is a very specific question, but I'm just mentioning about the type of questions that are coming in communication in general. So they are asking us to find out the barriers to communication, or they are focusing on the various, which are the important features of an effective communication. These kinds of general questions can be expected from communication. But in this or in these kinds of general questions, what you require is you need to understand the meaning of the options that are given, and then you can just logically connect the options, and they can then you can actually identify the right combination of answers, and you can just choose one of the right options that are very appropriate to the question. But the thing is, we need to understand the meaning of the words or the terms that are used there in the options, right? So for that purpose, you need to have a very good idea about the various terms and words or various phrases that are associated with communication, and for that you need to practice previous year questions. Okay, so I have just mentioned about this aspect of practicing questions, which is a very important strategy when you are doing any of the modules, especially in communication. I have just mentioned it here. Coming back to the question, so they have given us the various elements that are associated with mass communication, and we need to find out the correct sequence of the elements that are given here. So the right answer for this question is option B. So first, in this sequence, the correct sequence is selective exposure, then we have confirmation of bias, then we have option C, that is cognitive dissonance, then we have option B, that is selective attention, and finally option D, that is congruent information. So the right option or the right answer for this question is option B. Moving to the next question. So this question was from the module People, Development and Environment, and particularly from the topic Sustainable Development Goals. It's a very, very easy question. Whenever we are focusing on people and development, we always say that this Sustainable Development Goals is a very important topic that you have to consider. You have to identify, or you have to analyze and study the various development goals or the various sustainable development goals. That's a very important area, you know that. And this question is again a very direct question, So they have given us certain options, and we need to just find out which are the sustainable development goals from the options. A very easy question that you can expect from people and environment, and also from this particular topic, that is sustainable development goals. So which are the options given there? No poverty, zero hunger, employment to everyone, quality education, gender equality. So if you are a person who have a very good idea about sustainable development goals, this is a very easy question, right? No poverty, zero hunger, quality education, and gender equality. These can be associated with, all these options can be associated with sustainable development goals, but this employment to everyone has nothing to do with the sustainable development goals, right? So in that case, we can say that A, B, D, and E, that can be considered as the right options for this question. So considering the combinations that are given in the options, A, B, D, E only is option C. So the right answer for this question is option C itself. Moving to the next question. So this question is from higher education system. So if you consider the question, let's read the question. The most important fallout of university reforms under whose leadership was the first official announcement of the future education policy of the Government of India to reduce the tension created among the educated Indians by the process of his university reforms. So considering higher education as a module, one of the most important topics that you have to consider there is the major developments that are associated with the education system of India, and that you have to focus the developments in the pre-independence era and the post-independence era as well. So if you're focusing on the major developments, what are the things that you have to consider? First and foremost, the important commissions, committees, or reports or acts that are actually associated with the entire process of evolution or development of Indian education. And also, you need to have a very good idea about some of the most important personalities who are associated with this journey or with this process. Okay, so that is again very important. There are certain names or certain personalities who are associated with the various committees and commissions, and also there are certain people who have contributed to this entire course of Indian education and its development. So this kind of an idea is very important. When we are considering the major developments of Indian education, commissions, committees, reports, acts, all these are important, and also the important prominent personalities who actually played a very important role in this development process or this educational journey is also very important. So this question is from that perspective. So the question is like, the most important fallout of university reforms under whose leadership was the first official announcement of the future education policy of the Government of India to reduce the tension created among the educated Indians by the process of his university reforms. So this, as I have already mentioned, this is actually from an area which is associated with the various milestones or the various activities or aspects that are related to the education system or the development or the process of the evolution of Indian education. So the right answer for this question is option C, that is Lord Curzon. So have a look at this particular person who is having a very important role in this context of higher education or Indian education in general. Okay, moving to the next question. Find the number that must be added to the terms of the ratio 13:25 to make it equal to 7:10. Again, this is from mathematical reasoning and aptitude. So this is from the area ratio. So ratios is a very important area that you have to learn under this module. Have good practice and make sure that you have you know to do, or you have a basic idea about the concepts that are related to ratio, and then you can just practice as much as questions possible. Then this question is again a very easy one, and we are not going to the calculation part of it. Anyway, the right answer that was given for this question is option C, 16. Moving to the next question. Previous National Education Policy on Education 1986 was modified in the year. So obviously this area or this question came from the module higher education. There is no doubt in that. And this National Education Policy on Education is a very important topic that you have to consider and you have to learn under this module. We have National Education Policy of 1968, then we have 1986, and obviously 2020, right? So all these national education policies on education are very important. So when you're preparing for your next attempt, please do remember that you're not skipping this particular area under higher education as a module. So the question focuses on the 1986 National Education Policy, and this 1986 National Education Policy was modified in the year 1992. So this question is basically from that particular area or that particular thing that we have discussed. So this is basically a very easy question, very direct question. Those who have a very good understanding about the education policies, and if you have concentrated on these various policies of 1968, 86 and 2020, you might came across this year, that is 1992. This is a very important year in respect to the National Education Policy on Education, especially of the year 1986. So the right answer is obviously 1992, that is option B. Moving to the next question. To receive email, you need an email provider, a connection to a provider, and an email application. If your internet service provider or ISP has a POP server, you have a wide choice of email application. What does the acronym POP stand for? So this is from ICT, right? Information and Communication Technology. So when we are considering this module, one thing that you have to make sure or you have to take in your mind is that this abbreviation or acronyms is a very, very important topic or an area from ICT. So when you're preparing for or when you're focusing on this particular module, make sure that you have an idea about the most important acronyms that are related to ICT. Okay, so POP is basically such kind of an acronym that is associated with this particular module, and especially if you consider the area or the topic this is associated with Email is a very important topic that we have to consider under this module. We need to have a very good idea about the structure of it and the various elements like the CC, BCC, all those things are very important, and also these kinds of protocols that are associated with this email is again a very important topic. This question is basically a very easy question. If you know about emails and if you have a very good idea about the various important acronyms that are related to ICT, precisely related to email, this is a very easy question. So POP stands for Post Office Protocol, that is option B. So obviously that is the right answer. Moving to the next question. Which of the following recognize for the first time that the government should give frank and cordial support to female education and take effective measures for its expansion? And we have the options: Women's Indian Association, All India Women's Conference, the Woods Dispatch, and National Council of Women. So as I have already mentioned, if you consider this module higher education, the major developments in the path of the evolution of Indian education is a very important area that you have to consider. Considering that area precisely, or if you're considering that area particularly, the first time in which the government had taken a very good step in order to support or in order to expand the female education is a very significant milestone in the evolution of Indian education, right? So, which of the following recognize for the first time that the government should give frank and cordial support to female education and take effective measures for its expansion? It's Woods Dispatch. So that is the right answer for this question. So Woods Dispatch is known as the Magna Carta of English education in India. It's a very important initiative, a very important development in the process of this entire emergence of Indian education as a whole. So if you are considering this particular area under higher education, you need to study the important recommendations and the important objectives of Woods Dispatch. That is very important. One of the important milestones or one of the important recommendations that was provided by this Woods Dispatch was to give frank and cordial support to female education and taking effective measures for its expansion. So anyway, the right answer for this question is option C, that is Woods Dispatch. Moving to the next question, this is from People, Development and Environment. This is a statement-wise question. We have given two different statements and we need to identify is these statements or are these statements right or wrong or true or false. Statement 1 says bioconcentration in humans can occur due to consumption of fish. And in statement 2, it says that bioconcentration is a tendency of hazardous substances to accumulate in human tissues. Considering these two statements, statement 1 is false, but statement 2 is true. Okay, so first statement is false, but second statement is true. In that respect, we can say that statement 1 is false, but statement 2 is true, is option D. So the right answer is obviously option D itself. Moving to the next question, this is from logical reasoning. Okay, it's a very easy question if you know the various types of fallacies. If you have concentrated on the types of fallacy, especially the types of informal fallacy, this is a very easy question. So the question goes like this. Which informal logical fallacy is committed in the following argument? No one has shown that aliens did not create the crop circles, so the crop circles must have been made by the aliens. So we have the options begging the question, appeal to ignorance, fallacy of accident, and finally appeal to authority. So if you have thoroughly understood or if you have focused on the types of informal fallacy when you have prepared for your NET exam, this is a very easy question. They have given us an example and we need to find out the fallacy that is committed by this argument. So considering the example that is given itself, we can easily answer this question. This is not at all a very tough question. So the right answer for this question is option B, that is appeal to ignorance. The problem here is if you are not aware about the various types of informal fallacy, then this might be a very difficult question for you, but you have prepared really well on this particular topic, that is type of informal fallacy, which is a very important topic that you have to consider when you are preparing for logical reasoning or when you are preparing the module logical reasoning. Then this question is a very easy question. The right answer is appeal to ignorance. We have also done videos on these various types of formal as well as informal fallacies in our LMS platform. So if you are preparing or if you have already started your preparation for your next attempt of NTA UGC NET, make sure that if you are considering the module logical reasoning, these types of formal fallacies as well as informal fallacies are very important. A few of them are discussed in our this YouTube channel itself, we have discussed about few of the types of formal fallacies as well as informal fallacies in some of our videos. So you can just check that videos as well. That will give you an idea about how to learn or study the various types of formal as well as informal fallacy. Moving to the next question. When a research study is conducted to know about an unknown area and collect information, it is known as, and we have the options pilot study, feasibility study, explanatory research, and also exploratory research. This is from the module research aptitude, and the question goes like this: when we are doing a research and this research study is conducted to know about an unknown area and we are collecting information on that, what is that particular research is known as? So when we are focusing on an unknown area and collecting information, that means we are exploring a new area and we are trying to figure out the various information that will actually help us in doing the research, right? So in that case, this exploration is what happens here, and the right option or the right answer for this question is option D, that is exploratory research. Alright, moving to the next question. Which of the following are common criteria of test? And we have the options administrative condition, all questions of higher order thinking skills, time limit, nature of questions, marks allocation. So this is from teaching aptitude. We can consider it from teaching aptitude, and they have given us various options and we need to find out common criteria of test. These types of tests is very important from that point of view, and also the criteria that we have to consider when we are making or when we are preparing a test is again an important topic that you can consider actually. So considering the options, we need to find out not just the criteria of test but the common criteria that we can actually associate with any kind of test that we are preparing, right? So considering the options, we can say that administrative conditions, all questions of higher order thinking skills, time limit, nature of questions, marks allocation. In this option, we can actually eliminate this option B. All questions of higher order thinking skills. That is not necessary when we are preparing test. That too, if we are considering the common criteria of test, you can just eliminate that option. All questions of higher order thinking skills. In that respect, if you are just eliminating option B, you can just take A, C, D and D. These options can be considered as common criteria that can be applicable to any kind of test that you are producing. So in that respect, we can say that the right answer is A, C, D and E only, that is option D. Moving to the next question. The Acts of Incorporation passed in 1857 provided for the establishment of universities of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras on the model of. So this is again a very important topic or a very important idea that you have to consider when you are preparing this higher education module. So these universities of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras were established as a part of the recommendations that were put forth by Wood's dispatch in 1857. And these universities were actually established on the model of the University of London. So these universities were established and it were modeled on the University of London. In that respect, we can say that the right answer for this question is option D. Alright, moving to the next question, wind energy. Obviously, when you hear this wind energy, this term itself, we can say that this is from people, development and environment. And we have various options given here. Wind energy is an intermittent energy. It is extremely useful at remote and isolated places. Does not depend upon weather. Wind energy is a clean energy. Wind energy does not have any environmental impact at all. So if you consider these options and focus on the options, you can easily understand that there are certain options that we can easily eliminate from this, and we can find out the right combination of options or the answers that can be taken as right choice for this answer or this question. Okay, so the right answer for this question is option D, A, B, D only. This is the answer that we could find in the final answer key as well. So wind energy is an intermittent energy. It is extremely useful at remote and isolated places, and also it is a clean energy. So that is what the answer for this question. Moving to the next question, which of the following are unethical in the context of research? Research ethics is a very important area that we have to consider when we are preparing for this NTA UGC NET exam, especially when you are considering the module research aptitude. So the question is like, we have to find out which of the following are unethical on the context or in the context of research. So you need to take a very good attention on the question. So unethical is the term that is used there. So considering the options, we have seeking informed consent of respondents, offering incentives to respondents, coercing respondents for sensitive personal information, or forcefully we are making them and making them respond to very sensitive, very personal information, that is coercing respondents for sensitive personal information. Then we have hiding the research purpose from respondents, and also the last option is maintaining confidentiality. So we have to find from the following which are the unethical practices that can be considered in the context of research. So we know that this maintaining confidentiality is basically, or seeking informed consent of respondents, these are ethical in nature. So you can just skip, or you can just eliminate those kinds of options from the given choices. So seeking informed consent of respondents is a very ethical thing. Maintaining confidentiality is again a very ethical practice in the context of research. In that case, we can say that B, C, D, offering incentives to respondents, coercing respondents for sensitive personal information, and hiding the research purpose from respondents can be considered as unethical activities or unethical practices in the context of research. So B, C, D only will be the right answer. B, C, D only is option B. So the right answer for this question is option B itself. Moving to the next question, this is from research aptitude. Which of the following has similarity elements in both qualitative and quantitative research? So considering this particular question, we can say that qualitative and quantitative is basically two different approaches to research, but the question here focuses on finding out the similarities between these two. So considering the options here, we have answering research questions, preference to macro data, do not suffer from issues of error, importance to transparency, as well as exploration of variation. So considering the options, we can say that from this question, option A, D and E can be considered as similarity elements between qualitative and quantitative research. So which are they? Answering research questions, importance to transparency, exploration of variation. Moving to the next question, this is from the area or the module communication, and the topic under which we can find this question is these types of communication, especially non-verbal communication. So kinesics is a term that we are using technically for body language. So kinesics when used will communicate a person's, and we have the options: social status, level of involvement, emotional quotient, political mobility, language ambiguity. The right answer that NTA has given for this question was option A, B, C. Social status, level of involvement and emotional quotient. When we consider this kinesics, and the question is like kinesics when used will communicate a person's. So the options that we considered here, or the final answer that was given, is having, maybe you might find some confusions in the options, right? How a person's body language reflects his social status is a very natural question that we might have in our minds. But anyway, the final answer that NTA was given was option A, which includes A, B and C: social status, level of involvement and emotional quotient. Okay, moving to the next question. The Microsoft Office PowerPoint, there are two types of slide orientation that are supported. What are these orientation types? So this is again from ICT, Information and Communication Technology. So when we are using PowerPoint, we are using it for presentation to make PPTs, right? So when we are using PPTs, or when we are using this PowerPoint for making PPTs, there are basically two types of slide orientations that we can use there. So the question is basically focusing on that. So if you are a person who is familiar with this Microsoft Office and the various, if you are doing various activities using Word, then this PowerPoint, Excel and all that, you might know this. Otherwise, this might be a confusing question. The question asks us to find the Microsoft Office PowerPoint. There are two types of slide orientation that are supported. What are these orientation types? So the right answer for this question is option A. The two slide orientations supported by Microsoft Office PowerPoint are portrait and landscape. Moving to the next question, which of the following universities have been recognized as institutes of eminence? And we have various options given here: Banaras Hindu University, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapitham, Calcutta University, Central University of Hyderabad, Jawaharlal Nehru University. So this is again from higher education, a very general kind of a question. So we have to find out the universities from the options that have been recognized as institutes of eminence, and the right option is option B, A, B and D only: Banaras Hindu University, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapitham, and also option D, that is Central University of Hyderabad. Moving to the next question, which of the following is a semantic barrier? This is again a question from the module communication, and we have the option: blurred image in television, unclear printing in newspaper, static broadcasting and redundancy in writing. So semantic barrier, or this term semantic stands for, it is associated with the meaning of words, or it is a term that is associated with meaning basically. So considering semantic barriers, we need to find out the right option from the options, right? Or the right answer from the options. So we have blurred image on television, unclear printing in newspapers, static broadcasting, redundancy in writing. From the options, we can say that the option that can be associated with semantic barrier is option D, that is redundancy in writing. Moving to the next question. In a certain coding scheme, university is coded as EIINRSTUVY. How institutions shall be coded in the same coding scheme? So this is from mathematical reasoning and aptitude. So this coding, decoding, directions, number series, letter series, all these areas comes under mathematical reasoning and aptitude. So this is from the coding, decoding part. So they have given us a particular code. University is coded in such a manner. And if that's the case, how you can code institution? So for these kinds of questions, what you need is a proper practice. There are various ways in which we can code different words. So have an idea about it and have a good practice about this coding, decoding will actually help you in answering this question. So anyway, the right answer for this question that was given in the final answer key is option A. We are not going into the details. We are not going to code this particular term or this word in this session. We are just focusing on the answers, right answers that are given. Anyway, the right answer for this question is option A. Moving to the next question, given below are two statements. Statement 1 says, language and other symbolic means of communication are surely social products. Statement 2 says, communication media always provide the feel-good factor to their users. So this question is from obviously communication, right? So in statement 1 says that language and other symbolic means of communication are surely social products. That's true. Language and other symbolic means that we are using for our communication are surely social products. That's true. Statement 2 says communication media always provide the feel-good factor to their users. That is wrong. Communication media cannot be considered as a source from which we are always getting good things or good factors, feel-good factors. There are also other things, things which actually disturb us also comes from communication media. You know that, right? So in that case, we can say that statement 2 cannot be taken as a true statement. In that respect, we can say that statement 1 is true, but statement 2 is false. So in that case, the right answer for this question is obviously option C. Statement 1 is true, but statement 2 is false. Moving to the next question, a destructive computer program that masquerades as a useful application is called. And we have the options virus, worm, Trojan and firmware. This is from ICT obviously, and from the topic network related threats and securities. We have already done a video on this topic in our English YouTube channel. You might already seen that. Okay, in that we have a very detailed analysis about the various threats or the various threats and security measures that can be associated with network. We have considered few of the sample questions from the very recent exams as well. So considering this question, it asks us to find out the right option the right option that is considered as a destructive computer program that masquerades as a useful application. It looks like a very useful application, but it's very malicious in nature. So we have already discussed about this in our classes. So the right answer for this question is option C, that is Trojan. Moving to the next question, International Ambient Air Quality Standards stipulate the maximum permissible limit of annual mean concentration of particulate matters 2.5 to be. This is obviously from People Development and Environment, and this air quality standards is a very important topic that we have to consider there. And the right answer for this question is option C. It's a very factual question, so the right answer is option C. Moving to the next question, a true 0 point is the feature of nominal scale, ratio scale, interval scale and ordinal scale. A very easy, very direct question from scales of measurement. We have considered this topic under research aptitude. So it's a very, very direct question, very easy question. A true 0 point is the feature of ratio scale, obviously. So that is option B. Moving to the next question, the preposition all things are not eternal because they are noble as fallacious because. So this is from logical reasoning, of course, and this is from the area of fallacies, especially from interlogic. Okay, so if you have a very good idea about the various types of fallacies or hetuvabhas in interlogic, then this is a very easy question. All things are non-eternal because they are noble. So the fallacy behind this is anupasamhari, which can be called or which can be considered as the middle term, or it's a fallacy that happens due to the middle term becoming non-exclusive. So this fallacy happens because the middle term is non-exclusive. So we have the options: the middle term is non-exclusive, the middle term is too narrow, the middle term is too wide, it involves a contradictory middle term. So the right answer for this question is option A, that is the middle term is not exclusive. Moving to the next question, in the context of curriculum, which of the following are correct? And we have the options: curriculum should be modified regularly, curriculum should have theoretical concepts only, curriculum should be derived from constitutional imperatives of the country, curriculum should be made as per needs of industry and society, curriculum should be teacher-centric. So what we can do here is just eliminate the options that you can find as wrong options, basically the options that you cannot connect to this question, or the wrong options in that sense. Okay, eliminate those options and then you can find out the right combination. So the right answer for this question is option C, which includes option A, C and D. So A is curriculum should be modified regularly, of course, and option C, curriculum should be derived from constitutional imperatives of the country. that is again true. And then we have option D, that is curriculum should be made as per needs of industry as well as society. So the eliminated options are curriculum should have theoretical concepts only. That is wrong. It should have theoretical concepts and also it should have other areas, practical, skill development areas as well. And the other option that is eliminated or that is not considered in this answer is option E. Curriculum should be teacher-centric. That is again false. So the right option is option C. A, C, D only is the right combination. Moving to the next question. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as assertion A and the other is labeled as reason R. So assertion says one of the objectives of higher education is to promote critical and creative thinking abilities in students. That is true. That is a true statement. When we are considering this assertion reasoning questions, first thing we have to identify is whether these statements are true or false, whether these statements are correct or incorrect. If both the statements are correct only, then we need to identify whether the reason statement is actually a reason for the assertion that is given there. So, finding the statement that is given as assertion, it's a true statement. One of the objectives of higher education is to promote critical and creative thinking abilities in students. That is true. Reason says critical and creative thinking abilities are developed by rote learning. Critical and creative thinking abilities are developed by rote learning. That's false. Rote learning is basically a memorization technique. We are continually saying the same thing again and again. We are repeating a thing and we are learning or memorizing it. That is rote learning. So that cannot be associated with critical and creative thinking. So rote learning is a memorization technique or a memorization process. That is what happened in rote learning. And in that sense, we can say that the recent statement, critical and creative thinking abilities are developed by rote learning, cannot be true here, or it's an incorrect statement. In that sense, we can say that A is correct, but R is not correct. So the right answer for this question is option C. A is correct, but R is not correct. Moving to the next question. Given below are two statements. Statement 1 states, this concept of cyber technology is described as a wide range of network communication devices. Statement 2 says, many sociologists are concerned with people becoming too dependent on technology. So, considering statement 1, the concept of cyber technology is described as a wide range of network communication devices. That is true. And statement 2 is many sociologists are concerned with people becoming too dependent on technology. That is again true. So we can say that both these statements are true. So both statement 1 and statement 2 are true is option A. So the right answer for this question is option A itself. Moving to the next question. This is again from logical reasoning. We have two different statements given here and we have to find out whether these statements are correct or incorrect. Statement 1 says, Aristotelian syllogism has 3 terms. That is true. We have the minor term, major term and middle term. So Aristotelian syllogism has 3 terms and statement 2 says Nyaya syllogism has 5 terms. That is wrong. Nyaya syllogism is again have 3 terms. The term sadhya, then we have hedu and paksha. Okay, in that sense we can say that Nyaya syllogism has 3 terms again. So in that sense we can say that statement 1 is right but statement 2 is wrong. So statement 1 is correct but statement 2 is incorrect is option C. So the right answer for this question is option C itself. Alright, moving to the next question. In communication, channel richness is highest in the case of, and we have the options television, newspapers, face-to-face conversation and formal reports. This is from the module communication. Anyway, channel richness is highest in the case of face-to-face communication or face-to-face conversation. So the right answer for this question is option C. Moving to the next question, which of the following proposition is contrary to the proposition all women are honest? A very easy question if you know square of opposition. We have already done 2 videos in our English YouTube channel on this particular concept, that is square of opposition. So it's a very basic direct question if you know square of opposition. Alright, so we have to find out the proposition that is contrary to the proposition that is given as all women are honest. So what is the contrary of all women are honest? Obviously that is no women are honest, right? No women are honest is the contrary of all women are honest. All women are honest is a universal affirmative preposition, and no women are honest is a universal negative preposition, and the relationship between a universal affirmative and a universal negative preposition can be with the same subject and predicate can be called as contraries. Okay, so this is a very direct question from square of opposition. Moving to the next question, find the next term in the series given below 5, 9, 14, 20, 27, 35. Okay, so this is from mathematical reasoning and aptitude. So it's from number series. And the right answer was option C, 44. Moving to the next question, again a question from mathematical reasoning and aptitude. The sum of rupees 16,800 is divided into two parts. One part is lent at a simple rate of interest of 6% per annum and the other part at 8% per annum. After 2 years, the total sum received is rupees 19,000. Find the sum lent at the rate of 6% and 8% respectively. So this is from this simple interest, compound interest, that topic. So the right answer for this question is given as option A in the final answer key. So moving to the next question, so this is from ICT. So this is a little bit difficult question. So they have given us a data, basically an extract of a worksheet. And if a user wants to do the following, print within budget in cell B3 if the value in cell A2 is less than or equal to 100, print over budget in cell B3 if the value in cell A2 is greater than 100, then what formula would the user have to type in order to achieve the above stated goals? It's a difficult question. Anyway, the right answer for this question was given as option D in the final answer key. Moving to the next question. So from question number 41 to 45, we are looking at the data interpretation question asked for economic shift. So they have given a table, and it was a table based DI. So the following table shows the percentage distribution of total population, literate males and literate females in 6 cities A to F. In all 6 cities together, total population, number of literate males and number of literate females are 1.5 crore, 40 lakh and 25 lakh respectively. Ratio of males to females among the total population is 8:7. Based on the data in the table, answer the following, or they answer the questions that are given. So we have a table given there. It consists of the city-wise distribution of population, and we have 6 different cities given there, A to F. So percentage population, then we have the percentage of literate males and percentage of literate females given there. And in the question, we have the total number of population, number of literate males, number of literate females of all the 6 cities together is given as well. And also the ratio of males to females among the total population is also given in the question. So based on this particular table, we need to answer 5 questions. You know the pattern. For data interpretation and for reading comprehension, they'll be giving us, for data interpretation, they'll be giving us a data, and based on that data, we have to answer 5 questions. For reading comprehension, again, they'll be giving us a passage, and based on that passage, they'll be asking us 5 different questions. So as I have already mentioned, we are not going to the calculation part of this DI in this session. We are just looking at the right answers that are given in the final answer key. That's it. The calculation part and all that will be discussed later in our videos. So the first question was from this area. The first question asked was number of literate males of city E as a percentage of number of literate females of city F first. And we have various options given as well: 240%, 118%, 304% and 32.89%, and the right answer given was option C, that is 304%. Next question, literate population of city E is dash percentage of the population of E. So these are all associated with percentage calculation. So when we consider data interpretation, there are 3 important areas that we have to study: percentage, average and ratio. These are the 3 different concepts that you know or that you should know in order to answer the questions that are coming from data interpretation. So this is again from a percentage, literate population of city E as dash percentage of the population of E, and we have the options 40, 64, 26 and 42. So the right answer given was 42, that is option D. Moving to the next question, number of literate males of city D is dash percentage more than the number of literate females of city D. And we have the options 160, 60, 61, 0.538 and 120. And the right answer given was option B, that is 60. Moving to the next question, the difference between the illiterate population and the literate population of city C is, and we have the options 8.5 lakh, 9.5 lakh, 10.5 lakh, and finally 20.5 lakh. And the right answer or the option given was option B, that is 9.5 lakhs. The last and final question asked from data interpretation, the illiterate population of city AS, and we have the options 10.8 lakh, 14.2 lakh, 16.8 lakh, and finally 18 lakh, and the right answer given was option A, that is 10.8 lakh. Alright, moving to the next set of questions. So this is from reading comprehension. So they have given us a passage and we need to answer the questions that follows. So we're not going to read the entire passage right now. We're just focusing on the right options that are given for the various questions that are given. So you can actually use these questions, both the DI question and the reading comprehension question, for your practice. So just you can just pause the video and you can just practice, or you can just consider these questions for your practice sessions. So we have a passage given here, and the first question asked from the passage was, the government and private institutions should make efforts too. And we have the options: prevent people from taking bad decisions, allow people to go their own way, make people judge themselves, and finally steer people's choices for improving their lives. And the right answer given for this particular question from the passage was option D, that is steer people's choices for improving their lives. The next question from the passage was, the libertarian paternalist seeks policies aimed to. And we have the options: change the people's preferences, preserve the people's liberty of choice, burden the people with choices, make the people's choices legitimate. And the final answer key says that the right answer or the right option of this question is option B, preserve the people's liberty of choice. Moving to the next question, the libertarian strategy insists that people should opt for. And we have the options: freedom of choice, paternalistic support, even undesirable arrangements, modification of their freedom. And the right option given was option A, that is freedom of choice. Moving to the next question, the movement of libertarian paternalism is unattractive as it is a combination of, and we have the options: common sense concepts, dogmatic concepts, contradictory concepts, and finally popular culture and politics. And the right answer given was option C. The last and final question from the passage and for this particular shift was, the focus of the passage is on, and we have the options: the opposition to libertarian paternalism, the unlimited cognitive abilities of individuals, the freedom of choices for a better society, the need to ignore the defects of libertarian paternalism. And the right answer is the freedom of choices for a better society. So this was the theme, or this was the focus of the passage, and that was what asked here in this question as well. So the right answer is option C. സോ ഈ ഒരു സെഷനിൽ എക്കണോമിക് ഷിഫ്റ്റിൽ ചോദിച്ചിരുന്ന പേപ്പർ 1-ന്റെ ചോദ്യങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു അനാലിസിസ്, അതിൻ്റെ റൈറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആൻസേഴ്സ് ഏതൊക്കെയാണ്, ഏതൊക്കെ ഏരിയാസിൽ നിന്നാണ് ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ വന്നതെന്നുള്ളതാണ് നമ്മൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തത്. സോ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ചില ഏരിയാസ് നമ്മൾ ഇതിലും മെൻഷൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ ഇനിയും പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് നിങ്ങളുടെ പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഈ ഏരിയാസ് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് സാധിക്കുന്നതാണ്. സോ ഏറ്റവും റീസെൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള എക്സാമിലെ ചോദ്യങ്ങളും അതിൻ്റെ ഉത്തരങ്ങളുമാണ് നമ്മൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തത്. സോ ഈ വീഡിയോ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും നിങ്ങളുടെ നെറ്റ് പ്രിപ്പറേഷന് ഹെൽപ്ഫുൾ ആവട്ടെ എന്ന് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നു. താങ്ക്സ് ഫോർ വാച്ചിങ് ആൻഡ് ഹാപ്പി ലേണിംഗ്.